Level 1. The young painter. You enter the palace carrying brushes, wrapped in old cloth. Not a sword, not a seal, not a family name anyone important would remember. Before sunrise, the painter's workshop is already awake. Mineral colors are being ground in shallow bowls. Silk paper lies stretched across wooden frames. The air smells of ink, crushed stone, dry glue, and the faint sweetness of red pigment. You are not brought here to create truth. You are brought here to make power look beautiful. That is the first lesson the senior painter gives you before your knees have even stopped aching from bowing. A royal face, he says, must never look tired, afraid, angry, or old. So you learn to soften every line. You make concubines younger, princesses gentler, noblewomen calmer, and dead queens more peaceful than they ever were in life. You paint flowers on screens, clouds behind thrones, phoenix feathers on ceremonial panels. Your hand is useful, but your eyes are dangerous, so you train them to look only where they are allowed. Then one afternoon, you are ordered to repair a set of old portraits of the Empress. They are displayed along the back wall of the workshop, each one wrapped in silk, each one guarded more carefully than the others. When the cloth is removed, you feel a strange coldness move through the room. Every portrait is perfect. Too perfect, the same calm mouth, the same flawless skin, the same distant eyes, the same beautiful face repeated year after year, as if time, grief, anger, and fear have never dared touch her. You lean closer, pretending to inspect the gold edging, and notice something hidden beneath the paint. A faint correction near the jaw, erased again and again by different hands. A line someone tried to remove from history before you can look longer. An old female official appears behind you. Her voice is quiet. Do not search for what the portrait has already forgiven. You bow at once, but your heart has already changed its rhythm. Because now you understand that the Empress's face is not being painted, it is being protected. And in this palace, anything protected that carefully is either sacred, guilty, or waiting to destroy the person who sees it clearly. Level 2 Palace Portraits. By the third day, you understand that portrait painting inside the palace is not art. It is negotiation. A concubine does not ask to be painted as she is. She asks to be remembered younger than her rival, calmer than her enemy, softer than her ambition, and more beloved than the emperor has actually made her. A princess asks for her eyes to look obedient, though her hands grip the armrest hard enough to pale her knuckles. A noble widow asks that the painter remove the shadow beneath her cheeks, because grief is acceptable only when it is beautiful. You sit behind the senior painters, grinding mineral color, preparing silk paper, filling in robe patterns, and learning which lies are safe. Too much beauty looks desperate. Too much truth looks insulting. The correct portrait is the one that allows power to recognize itself without feeling accused. Every session is watched by the Empress's old female official, Lady Shen. She moves through the painting room without sound, dressed in dark green silk, her hair pinned so tightly it seems to pull all softness from her face. She does not paint, but every painter fears her more than the brushmaster. If a nose is too sharp, she notices. If a mouth looks too proud, she notices. If a young concubine's gaze seems too hungry, she tells the painter to lower the eyes. A woman in the palace, she says once, standing behind you, must be seen correctly, or she becomes dangerous. You do not answer. You only keep painting the gold edge of a sleeve. But the words stay with you. Correctly does not mean honestly. It means usefully. One afternoon, while assisting with a portrait of a favored noble lady, you accidentally paint the tension in her fingers exactly as you see it. Lady Shen stops beside your shoulder. For a long moment, she studies the hand on the silk. Then she dips a clean brush into pale color and softens the knuckles until the woman appears serene again. Your hand is skilled, she says. Your eye is undisciplined. That should sound like correction. Instead, it feels like warning. Later, when the room empties, you look again at the row of Empress portraits hidden beneath silk covers. You begin to understand what no one has said aloud. The palace does not keep portraits to remember women. It keeps portraits to decide which version of them is allowed to survive. And if even the Empress needs that much correction, then the face beneath her crown must be more dangerous than any painted lie. Level 3 behind silk. The first time you are summoned to the Empress's private hall, you are not told you will see her. You are told only to carry fresh brushes, prepare pale mineral color, and keep your eyes lower than the phoenix pattern on the floor. The hall is quieter than the painting workshop, and that silence feels more expensive. Red silk curtains hang from carved beams. Incense coils burn in bronze dishes. Painted screens show phoenixes rising from golden clouds. But even those birds seem trapped inside the room's stillness. Lady Shen leads you and 2 senior painters through the outer chamber, then stops before a curtain so thin it turns the figure behind it into shadow. The Empress sits on the other side. You cannot see her face. Only the outline of her hair ornaments, her shoulders, the angle of her hand resting on the arm of a low chair. The senior painter kneels first. You follow. No one tells you to breathe quietly, but you do. The task is impossible. Capture authority without looking directly at the person who holds it. The brushmaster begins with the posture, the throne cloth, the fall of the sleeve. You mix color and pass tools, but your eyes keep returning to the shadow behind the silk. There is something wrong with the outline. Not ugly, not weak. Just human in a way the official portraits never allowed. The Empress shifts slightly, and every woman in the room lowers her head at once, as if the movement itself has issued an order. Then her voice comes through the curtain, low, controlled, closer than you expect. "The young painter," she says. Your hand freezes over the color dish. Lady Shen's eyes cut toward you. You bow deeper. "Yes, Your Majesty. You have been repairing my old portraits. Only under instruction, Your Majesty." A pause follows, long enough for your heartbeat to become loud in your own ears. "Then tell me," she says, "do you paint what you see, or what you are afraid to see?" No senior painter moves. Lady Shen does not save you. The silk curtain breathes softly between you and the woman. No one is permitted to look at honestly, you answer carefully. In the palace, Your Majesty, a painter learns that seeing is not always allowed. For the first time, you hear something like amusement behind the curtain, not warmth, recognition. "Good," she says. "Then perhaps you may learn what must be hidden." And in that moment, you understand that you have not been brought closer because you are trusted. You have been brought closer because your fear is useful. Level 4, her true face after the other painters leave. Lady Shen orders you to remain. The room changes the moment the door closes. Without the senior painters breathing, without the scrape of assistants grinding color, without the safe noise of official work, the Empress's private hall becomes too quiet to excuse your fear. One lamp is moved closer to the low table. A bronze mirror beside the screen is covered with dark cloth. The red curtains are pulled shut until the outside world disappears completely. You kneel beside your brushes, waiting for someone to tell you what mistake you have made. Instead, the Empress speaks from behind the silk. "Prepare fresh paper." Your hands obey before your thoughts do. Lady Shen watches from the corner, expressionless. Then the curtain moves. Not much. Just enough for the Empress to step through. For the first time, there is no silk between your eyes and her face. You lower your gaze at once, but she stops you. "Look." The command is soft, and that makes it worse. Slowly, you raise your eyes. She is beautiful, but not in the way the portraits claimed. Her beauty is sharper, colder, more tired. There is faint darkness beneath her eyes, a line near her mouth that no official painting would allow, and near the curve of her jaw, almost hidden beneath powder, a small scar, not large, not disfiguring, but real. A mark that proves time has touched her, pain has touched her, and someone has worked very hard to make the court forget it. "Do not improve me," she says. You hold the brush above the silk paper. "Your Majesty, if your hand lies tonight, I will know." So you begin. The first strokes feel like treason. You paint the angle of her chin without softening it. You leave the tiredness near her eyes. You place the scar where it belongs. Each honest line feels more dangerous than any false one you have ever made. When she sees the first outline, she does not smile. She only studies herself as if looking at an enemy she has survived for years. Most men paint queens as they wish to be protected, she says. I want to know if you can paint a woman who no longer asks to be protected. You realize then that this is not a portrait session. It is a test. She is not asking whether you can see her face. She is asking whether you can survive knowing it. Level 5 forbidden sessions after that night. You are no longer called to the Empress's hall with the other painters. You are summoned after the lamps are lowered, after the official workshops close, after the palace begins pretending to sleep. A maid arrives without looking at your face and says only, "Bring the red pigment." You learn to wrap your brushes in silence. You learn which corridor has fewer guards, which floorboard creaks near the side door, which incense hides the smell of wet ink. The Empress receives you in a smaller chamber behind her main hall, where rain taps against the roof tiles and candlelight turns the silk paper the color of old bone. No music, no witnesses except Lady Shen, who sits in the shadow like a locked door. These are not official portraits. No court will see them. No minister will bow before them. In one, the Empress asks you to paint her without the phoenix crown. In another, with her hair half loosened. In another, with her scar visible enough that anyone who knew where to look would understand it, had been hidden for years. Each session is more dangerous than the last, not because she touches you, but because she allows you to look too long. You begin to understand that intimacy in the palace is not always a hand on skin. Sometimes it is a woman allowing one man to see the exhaustion beneath her command. One night, as you mix red pigment, she asks, "Do you think beauty protects a woman?" You keep your eyes on the color bowl. People protect what they believe is beautiful. "No," she says. "They display it. There is a difference." She sits straighter then, the candlelight catching the edge of her jaw. "Paint my eyes as if I have already survived everything they planned for me." Your brush pauses. That sentence carries more history than any decree. You want to ask who planned it. The old Empress's rivals, a dead concubine, the Emperor's family. Lady Shen's gaze warns you not to cross that line, so you paint instead. You paint eyes that do not beg, do not forgive, do not forget. And as the face appears on silk, you feel the terrible change in your own heart. You are no longer only recording her. You are beginning to protect the version of her no one else is allowed to know in the palace. That is already a form of betrayal. Level 6, the hidden scar. The question you are not allowed to ask begins to follow you everywhere. Who gave the Empress that scar? You see it when you grind pale pigment. You see it in the curve of every jaw you are ordered to soften. You see it in the official portraits where her face remains perfect, untouched, impossible. The scar itself is small, but the effort to erase it is enormous, and that tells you it belongs to a story the palace has not finished burying. Your chance comes in the forbidden storage room behind the old painting workshop, where damaged portraits are kept beneath dust-colored cloth. Lady Shen sends you there to search for a phoenix screen pattern, but her warning is clear: take what is named, touch nothing else. The room smells of old silk, dry wood, metal locks, and paper that has survived too many winters. Rows of covered faces lean against the walls, like witnesses forced to sleep standing up. You find the screen pattern quickly. Then you see another frame turned toward the wall, its back marked with the Empress's old residence seal. You know you should leave. Instead, you pull the cloth away. The portrait beneath is not of the Empress, not exactly. It shows a younger woman with similar eyes, similar posture, and a softer mouth. At the bottom of the frame, the name has been scraped away so violently that the wood itself is scarred. But near the woman's jaw, painted with frightening care, is the same small mark. Not hidden, not corrected. Honored. Your hand goes cold. A dead a sister? A mother? Before you can study more, Lady Shen's voice comes from the doorway. Some faces are removed because the court forgets them, she says. Others are removed because someone remembers too well. You turn, the cloth still in your hand. There is no use pretending. That night, when you face the Empress again, you do not mention the old portrait. You do not mention the scraped name. But when you begin painting her scar, your brush trembles once, she notices. Of course she does. So, she says quietly, You have found the woman they tried to erase before me. The candle flame bends between you. In that moment, you understand your work has changed. You are not painting a face anymore. You are standing at the edge of a buried crime. Level 7, Painted Lies. The official portrait is ordered 3 days later. Not the private one. Not the face with the scar, the tired eyes, and the memory of a woman erased before her. This portrait is for the court, for ministers, for visiting nobles, for the great hall where power must look eternal. You are told to prepare the finest silk paper, the brightest mineral gold, the softest red for the lips, the palest white for the skin. Lady Shen stands beside the work table, while the senior officials wait behind a screen, pretending not to care how the Empress will be remembered. The Empress enters wearing the phoenix crown. Her robe arranged so perfectly, it seems less like clothing than armor. Her face is calm, too calm. You know now where the tiredness should be. You know where the scar hides beneath powder. You know the small difference between her public stillness and her private silence. That knowledge makes your hand dangerous. Paint Her Majesty as the Empire knows her, Lady Shen says. So you do. You smooth the jaw. You bury the scar beneath flawless light. You brighten the eyes without revealing what they have survived. You paint a woman no one can pity, question, or wound. A beautiful lie, a necessary lie. But as the image forms, you feel the private portrait burning in your memory, like a second face beneath the first. The Empress does not look at the painting, she looks at you, only once. A warning, or perhaps a plea not to confuse truth with loyalty. When the officials are finally allowed to see the finished outline, they murmur approval. That is how you know the lie has worked. Then a young female attendant near the pigment table goes very still. Her eyes move from the official portrait to a folded sketch half, hidden beneath your sleeve. Not long, but long enough. That night, she does not return to the workshop. Her brushes remain in place. Her color bowl dries untouched. No one asks where she has gone. No one says her name. Lady Shen only removes the folded sketch from your desk and places it in the flame of a candle. A painting can betray without speaking, she says. You watch the edge curl black. You should feel relief. Instead, you feel the palace closing around your throat, because now you understand the truth. The official portrait is not the dangerous one. The dangerous one is the face. Everyone knows has been hidden. Level 8, Burning Portrait. The order to destroy the private portrait never comes as an order. That is how the Empress tests loyalty. No command, no witness, no official seal, only a copper brazier placed in the painting chamber after midnight, its coals already breathing red beneath a thin layer of ash. Outside, rain strikes the roof tiles hard enough to hide footsteps. Inside, the unfinished true portrait rests on the low table, the Empress's real face looking back at you with tired eyes, the small scar near her jaw left exactly where it belongs. Lady Shen is not in the room. No senior painter, no attendant. Only you, the brazier, and the face no court is allowed to remember. You understand the choice before anyone explains it. If you keep the portrait, you keep proof that the Empress is not the flawless symbol hanging in the Great Hall. Proof of age, pain, history, and the erased woman whose scar came before hers. Proof that the woman everyone fears is still human. In another life, such proof might be beautiful. In this palace, it is a blade. The door opens softly. The Empress enters without crown or ceremony, dressed in a dark robe. Her hair pinned simply, her face half, shadowed by lamplight. She does not look at the brazier, she looks at you. A loyal man burns what can destroy the woman he serves, she says, and a careful man keeps what may save him. Your hand tightens around the edge of the silk paper. Which man does your Majesty need? She steps closer, but not close enough for the court to call it tenderness. Even if the court could see, I need to know which one you are when no one is watching. The rain fills the silence. You lift the portrait. The painted eyes seem calmer than yours. For one terrible breath, you cannot tell whether you are holding evidence, memory, or the only honest version of her that will ever exist. Then you lower the silk toward the coals. Fire catches slowly at first, curling the corner black. Red pigment darkens. The painted scar disappears last. The Empress does not turn away. Neither do you. When only ash remains, she says nothing. But as she leaves, her sleeve brushes the empty table where the portrait had been. It is the smallest gesture, almost invisible. Grief disguised as inspection. That is when you understand you did not burn a painting to protect her power. You burned the only place where she had been allowed to be real. Level 9, her last image before dawn. The Empress sends for you one final time. The palace has not slept. You can feel it in the halls, guards posted too early, maids walking too fast, officials whispering behind screens that should still be closed. Something is coming, though no one is brave enough to name it. When you enter her private chamber, the red curtains are only half drawn, and the morning has not yet decided whether to become light. The phoenix crown rests on the table beside her, heavy and waiting. Her robe is not fully fastened. Without the crown, without the perfect stillness of court, she looks almost like the woman from the burned portrait. Not weak, but tired of being turned into a symbol. "Paint me once more," she says. No Lady Shen stands in the corner. No brazier waits beside the table. This session has no witness except the silence between you. You prepare the silk paper with hands that remember the heat of last night's fire. For the court, you ask. No, she sits near the window where pale light touches the scar near her jaw before powder can hide it. For myself, you begin with the eyes. You do not soften them. You do not make them younger, kinder, or more merciful. You paint the face of a woman who has survived too much to be innocent and lost too much to be easily condemned. As your brush moves, she speaks of the woman in the old portrait. Not a full confession, the palace never gives those. Only fragments, a rival once erased. A betrayal buried inside an official illness. A scar shared by two women because one tried to save the other and failed. The more she tells you, the more dangerous your hand becomes. When the first alarm bell sounds somewhere beyond the hall, neither of you moves. The purge has begun. Names will be taken, records will be sealed, portraits will be replaced. She looks at the unfinished image and says, "If they erase me tomorrow, paint the woman they were afraid to remember." Your throat tightens, but your brush does not stop. For the first time, you understand what she has truly asked of you. Not flattery, not secrecy, not even loyalty. She wants one witness who can remember her without the crown, without the lie, without the forgiveness of official paint. And in the cold first light, you realize that being chosen to remember her may be more dangerous than being ordered to betray her. Level 10, the painter erased by the time the purge ends. The palace looks cleaner than before. That is what frightens you most. The corridors are swept, the incense is replaced, the broken seals vanish from the doors. The servants who cried in the night now carry trays with lowered eyes, pretending they heard nothing. In the great hall, the official portrait of the Empress is unveiled beneath golden light, flawless skin, calm mouth, eyes bright enough to command loyalty, but not honest enough to invite pity. Ministers bow before it. Noblewomen praise its dignity. The court sees exactly what it needs to see. A woman untouched by fear. A queen preserved by paint. No one sees the burned portrait. No one sees the last image you finished before dawn, folded now beneath the lining of your travel robe. In that hidden sketch, the Empress is not perfect. Her scar remains. Her eyes are tired. Her face carries grief, power, guilt, and the unbearable weight of surviving people the palace has already erased. It is the truest thing your hand has ever made, which means it cannot stay inside the palace. Lady Shen comes for you at sunset. She does not bring guards, only a sealed travel pass, a small purse of silver, and a new name written on plain paper. "You are leaving tonight," she says. You look toward the inner hall. By whose order? Lady Shen's face does not change. By the order of the woman whose face you know too well. You understand then, this is not punishment. Not exactly. It is mercy shaped like exile. If you remain, someone will ask why you were summoned at night, why the burned ashes were swept from the chamber, why the Empress let one low painter look longer than any man should. Your existence has become a flaw in the official portrait. Before you leave, you are taken through a side corridor where the Empress passes only once, surrounded by attendants. She does not stop. She does not look at you like a woman saying farewell. She looks through you like a ruler removing a dangerous witness from the frame. But as she passes, one finger brushes the edge of her sleeve, exactly where the scar would be if fabric could remember skin. That is the only goodbye she can afford. Outside the palace, the night air feels too open. You carry no title, no proof, no place in court history. Only a hidden sketch and the knowledge that truth is not always meant to be displayed. Sometimes truth survives, because one person carries it away before power can repaint it. Years later, people will praise the Empress's official portrait. They will say it captured her strength, her dignity, her eternal calm. They will not know it was a lie. They will not know about the scar, the burned silk, the woman in the erased portrait, or the painter sent away for seeing too clearly. You entered the palace believing your work was to preserve faces. Now you understand the deeper law in a royal court. Portraits do not remember people. They decide which version of a person is allowed to live. And you, the only man who painted the Empress, as she truly was, must disappear, so her perfect image can remain. If you want to enter another hidden royal world from the lowest servant to the highest secret, comment which palace, empire, or forbidden court we should step into next.